What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKL Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified of all latest content as and when it drops on this channel. So without further ado, let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about Jaron Boots Ennis and Terrence Crawford. Now, as all of you will know as boxing fans, Jaron Boots Ennis, he dispatched of David Avanesian a little bit faster than Terrence Crawford did. I think Crawford stopped him in the 6th round and Boots Ennis stopped him in the 5th round. So Boots Ennis was a bit quicker to stop this man. It was a fight where you had, I think it was about a month's notice, 4 weeks notice for David Avanesian. But David Avanesian, he's a guy that, as they say, he's ready at pretty short notice. He's always in fighting shape. He, as some others have said, he has gloves, will travel. He's one of those guys that he's a workhorse. He's always pretty much ready to fight and ready to go at the drop of a hat. And that's pretty much what happened here. The original opponent, I think he had a eye injury or some issue with his eyesight, so he couldn't fight, and that's why we got David Avanesian. But David Avanesian, he's a stiff test. He gives everyone a good fight, and this fight against Jaron Boots Ennis, Avanesian never really looked like winning the fight, but he did at times he did get through with some good shots on Jaron Boots Ennis. He did tag Boots Ennis quite a lot, and that's one of the things that not too many people have been pointing out, but it's something that some have picked up on, that yes, he was destructive and he showed excellent switch hitting, and his ability in there was very good, and he showed himself to be levels above guys like David Avanesian. But there was a bit of, I would say, a little bit of rust there in the performance. It wasn't a perfect or flawless performance, and because as well as he did offensively, for my money, I felt he did get caught a little bit too much, and I think as he goes up in levels, if he does step up against Terrence Crawford next, he cannot afford to be getting caught by those same sort of shots that he got caught with off of Avanesian. He's going to have to really sort of tighten up that defense and that sort of defensive awareness. That's really going to have to tighten up if he hopes to go in there and beat a guy like Terrence Crawford, because Crawford, he's not the biggest of punchers, but he is still a puncher, and he's got an impeccable ring IQ, and he's very, very accurate with the shots that he does throw at Terrence Crawford. So, and he is that type of guy that, as we've seen in various fights, even when he's down, the minute, his coach tells him, oh, you're down, he's able to just switch it on and just turn the fight around. So, yeah, in the aftermath of this victory by Jaron Boots Ennis over David Avanesian, Turkey Al-Sheikh has been tweeting out on X, or Xing out, or whatever you call it. X is the new name for Twitter now. And so His Excellency Turkey Al-Sheikh, he's been tweeting out that he wants to make Terrence Crawford versus Jaron Boots Ennis, and he wants that to be something that could happen next. For me, he's His Excellency, in some ways, he's kind of like the kid in the candy store. He's kind of like playing fight night in real life and just putting these dream fights together. For me, I think it would be an excellent fight. It would be a fight where you put a guy that's younger and fresher, but has a tremendous potential in Jaron Boots Ennis. But he's not quite the finished article yet. But he's clearly, one of the best, if not the best, welterweight in the world. So he's he's certainly up there, but for me, he's still got a few things that he needs to do. But yeah, to put those two together would be brilliant, because you've got pound for pound, arguably the best fighter in the world in Terrence Bud Crawford, against a guy that's gonna be surely a future pound for pound best, maybe pound for, he's a guy that you look at him, you look at the skills and what he brings to the table and everything, and you look at Boots Ennis and everyone pretty much agrees he looks like a special talent. So it would be a great fight. It would be great to bring those two together, but I think it is a bit premature to be talking about it now, because I think Boots Ennis needs a little bit more seasoning before trying to take on Terrence Bud Crawford. And obviously Terrence Bud Crawford has got his own opponent to deal with in a couple of weeks' time in his opponent Madrimov, who he's going to take on at 154 pounds. And Turki Al-Sheikh, he said he wants to make the Crawford versus Boots fight at 154 pounds. So I think His Excellency is getting a bit ahead of himself there, because you've got to at least sort of wait until Terrence Crawford has dealt with Madrimov, because you never know. As much as I firmly believe Terrence Crawford beats Madrimov, and as good as Madrimov is, I think Terrence Crawford is that level above him. So I definitely think Crawford wins. But as it hasn't happened yet, I think the sensible thing to do before you start talking about that or putting that idea out there to Terrence Crawford, you got to have the fight versus Madrimov first, and you got to win that first and look good winning it, and then you can talk about what's next. But that's how it goes. I suppose when you got the money like that, you can just put all these fights together. But we saw what happened with the heavyweights when I suppose Fury was meant to win, Wilder was meant to beat Zhang, and then he'll get Joshua. He was meant to beat Parker, and then he would get Joshua, and all this sort of stuff. And they had all that planned, 3 fights in advance, and then it didn't happen. And that's the reality here. That much as Madrimov's an underdog, he's no mug. He's a very good fighter. So he's got that potential there to cause the upset. I don't pick him to cause it, but he could it's a very real possibility that he could. So yeah, as far as Boots and Crawford though, if that fight were to happen, for me, I think Crawford, as I said earlier, sorry, not Crawford, I think Boots Ennis, Jaron Ennis, needs that bit more seasoning before he gets to the level of fighting someone like a Terrence Crawford. I think he could take it on and just take the risk and take the gamble. And I think if someone like Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, is offering you a fight like that, then you do take it, because it's life-changing money. And if you lose, then you've gone up in weight and you've lost to, pound for pound, basically the best fighter in the world. So even if you take on a Terrence Crawford, really, you've got nothing to lose. You're the younger fighter, and you're the guy that's on your way up. Terrence Crawford is at the sort of towards the tail end of his career. He's looking for big name opponents, which are difficult to find for him, apart from the likes of if that Canelo fight happens or whatever. So yeah, it's one of those fights that I think is a risk that's, when it comes to the Saudi money, it is a risk worth taking for Boots Ennis. But I think he's not quite ready for a guy like Terrence Crawford yet. I think Terrence Crawford, with his, clearly better defense, and I think that's the area where Jaron Boots Ennis lacks is defensively. I think he gets hit too much, as good as he is on the front foot and as aggressive as he is and everything. For me, he gets hit a bit too much, and I think there's certain weaknesses there where an experienced, gifted fighter like Terrence Crawford would just exploit him. And I think Terrence Crawford would have him, definitely. For me, Terrence Crawford would be a big favourite for me to beat a guy like Boots Ennis now, because Boots Ennis, he's got the potential to be elite and everything, but he hasn't yet fought anybody on a sort of high level, you know. He got his belt, and he kind of inherited the belt in a way, which it's not his fault. That's how the cookie crumbles. That's how politics works sometimes. But I think he's yet to fight sort of that elite name, that big name that we can see exactly where he is. And if he was to fight Crawford, Crawford would be kind of that first big name, and he'd be not only that first big name he's fighting, he'd be that elite fighter, a fighter that's basically better than everybody else in the welterweight division. So I think it would be a step too far and a bit too early for Jaron Boots Ennis. But if that bag comes, if I'm in his shoes, I'd take it any day of the week. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Jaron Boots Ennis, is he ready for Terrence Crawford, or do you, like me, think that he's not quite there yet? Let me know your thoughts, and until next time, it's MKO Pugilism, over and out.